Do you want clients or do you want connections? Today we are going to be talking about the art of discernment, and I'm going to tell you a story. And it's about how when I was looking to have a conversation with somebody who had found their way into my ecosystem, initially it seemed like they would be the perfect client. They were already aligned in what they wanted to create. It was within my zone of genius. They were somebody who would be able to afford me, and they were somebody who I knew I would get a powerful case story out of. And instead of taking their initial hesitation to be coached by me as a rejection, I turned it into something else. And the reason for that is because when I got on that call with them, the intention wasn't to sell them into my coaching. It was to see where we would actually align. And I had several different ways that this could go. And then I used my art of discernment to see, is this actually for me? Because, I've been doing my little ecosystem game for now this is the 4th week. And the seeds are starting to sprout. In the last several weeks that I have been doing my little content blitz, which you can go and check out my other video on the art of discernment before this one, what I've basically done is I was doing bite-sized content. Now, this particular person did not come into my web through the bite-sized content. She actually found me through another video. This is why I say the content library is key, and that's why I'm building it. Because she had said that she'd been looking everywhere for the information that she was looking for, and a lot of it was scary, and it wasn't going to help her, and there was only one other person who had something similar to what I had. And when she found this interview that I did with a past client, this is what inspired her to jump into my community. So she was relatively new. She hadn't heard of my book yet. She just found me through a Google search, and she doesn't even remember what terms she put in. But this is important to understand, is that when you build a thriving ecosystem and you put what you're selling on the shelf, and instead you're approaching everything from connection, not from a place of trying to get a client, this is when the magic really happens. So I'm going to basically tell you that even though I haven't signed her on as a client, she is still going to go through my system. She is still going to get the results. And she's going to be even more powerful and more valuable to me than if she signed up as a client. Now, the reason for that is because who I am attracting as a client now versus who I was attracting in the beginning when I first got started. When I first got started, I wanted to help everyone. Anyone who wanted my help as a coach, I was going to coach them. But then I have gotten to the point where I've evolved and I don't coach everyone anymore. In fact, I'm pulling back from one-to-one coaching, and instead I have a new system. And this is where this ties in. So way back when I was creating my ecosystem and planning for future Carly, again, go check out my other video on the art of discernment that I did back on July 23rd of this year, so July 23rd, 2025. I basically date these so that you can see where I was at in the journey. But I had basically thought to myself, okay, my true love is going to be coming in at some point as soon as he's ready. Like, we're doing this. And I don't know how long it's going to take him to get the last pieces into place. I know that he's an action taker. I know that he's working hard. We are back in connection in our own way. He knows that as soon as he's ready to bring in his queen, it's like go time. And in the meantime, I've been building my ecosystem up so that when I am pregnant and having my family and spending time with my true love, and we're doing our own collaborations in our own joint venture partnerships of what we're building, because we're going to have our own stuff outside of just my birth stuff. What this is going to do is it's going to protect my business long term, and I'm going to be able to take a step back from coaching and have other people coach for me. So this person who came in, she is a coach, and I had been checking out her stuff too. I'm like, oh, not only has this person who has reached out to me and has joined my community, not only is she interested in the toolkit that I have put out, but she actually used her business email to do it. And I noticed, like, oh, you are a coach. This is perfect. And you're within the same realm where I could refer people to you. So I could see the collaborations already happening, and I could see how this could be a very aligned and like basically a beneficial relationship for us to have. So when I got on that call, it was really just get to know her, get to see her energy, get to see how she is. Like, is she like for real? Like the person that I see on the Instagram, is this the same person? And it was, and I really like her energy, and I love that she's also wanting to be a doula, because she'd also mentioned at one point, she's like, I've been certified as a doula recently, and I was looking into that. And I'm like, okay. And then she asked me after, I'm like, well, I could coach you. I didn't say I'm going to coach you. I didn't give her my packages. I said I could coach you. And regardless of whether I coach you or not, I want you to go through my system. And regardless of whether we actually are doing the coaching or not, because, it has to be aligned in timing. It has to be aligned for us to make it work. It's like, I'm going to support you anyway. I'm going to be your friend anyway. I'm going to help you anyway. And I could also professionally coach you, because that part I don't do for free. However, she's like, well, I'm actually curious about the other side, the collaboration side. I'm like, I'm happy to tell you about that, because we're going to do that anyway. And I told her how we were going to do that. I usually do interviews, and then I show people, it's like, not only have they had this empowered birth, or not only have they had these experiences, or not only do they have this information in this area, but they also have something else. And then I direct them. So it's like, this is part of my empowered mom circle. It's like, you're already in. We're already going to do this. And then in addition to that, she's like, well, I'm actually curious about the virtual doula side of things. I'm like, well, that is fun, because, I love being a virtual doula, and I can tell you what that looks like. And then she's like, well, what about your team? You said you have a team. I'm like, yes, I am building my team right now. And she's like, so you've had people in the past? I'm like, yes. And they come for a season. Nobody's locked into a contract. And the way I work it is I call them my coaching queens. So I want coaches who are familiar with my method, preferably somebody who also wants to be a virtual doula, so that if they get on those initial coaching calls and they're using my content to get the clients instead of having to burn themselves out, then what they can do is, after they've done those initial calls through my program, they can then decide, are they going to take on this client? And then that's theirs. I'm creating an ecosystem where we all get fed. And the reason why it's important to be discerning, and it's important to know your worth, and it's important to know your value, is so that when somebody rejects you for one thing, you don't automatically shut down and think that they just aren't going to be a good fit for anything. They came into your network for a reason. Now, either it's they came into the network to test you and see if you're going to crumble, or they came in, but they're not exactly what you thought. It's actually better. So then I did the math, of course. I'm like, well, if she was to do the coaching queen side only and still have my system, because information is free and I charge for access to me. But if she did that, it would work out great for us long term. It would actually be more beneficial for her as a coaching queen, and I've seen this, than it would be for her to just be a client and pay me once and we work together for a certain amount of time and then that's it. Like, instead of doing that, this new model that I'm building within my own empire is going to ensure that everybody gets fed. Because not only do I want people to work with me, and I said with me, not for me, note the word choice, but I also want them to work on their own mission. She has her own mission that she needs to do. And she said, I have a vision of walking beside moms. And I'm like, that is beautiful. And I want that for you. And I'm not going to allow anything that I'm building to hold you back. I want it to enhance that. I want to enhance what you're already doing. So, you know, then I kind of see this metaphor of like the garden, okay? So somebody has a beautiful, luscious garden and they are giving you fruit from the garden and you pay them for that fruit from the garden. So you're eating that fruit and it's nourishing you and it's feeding you. And before you didn't have the money and maybe they gave you that fruit for free, but they said, at some point you are going to need to pay me or you're going to need to work with me at a certain level. Maybe you work in my garden and I still feed you. But there's some sort of transaction happening here. There's some sort of energetic exchange. You're still getting fed. But then you get to a certain point and you're nourished. And it's like, okay, you could keep coming to my garden or I can give you the seeds and you can start planting your own garden. And maybe you still come to my garden to get fed while your seeds are still in the ground and you're watering them. And at the same time, there's going to be a point where you start to get your own fruit and you get your own vegetables and you don't need to come to my garden all the time. Maybe you come in every once in a while because my stuff is still pretty damn good. And at the same time, you're not just coming into the garden to eat. You're also coming into the garden to get more tips from me. You're getting ideas. It's like, you know, I'm building this garden and my fruits are pretty good. Here, try one. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. And you know what would make it even better is if you use this for it. You changed out this part of your soil. And they'd be like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. And then their garden gets better. And then they're like, you know what? Other people have come to my garden and they are buying my fruit. And it's like, that's awesome. We now have more food. Like, we want that. As opposed to the person who's like, oh, you've got a better garden than me. I'm going to stomp you out because you're still smaller and I'm bigger and I've got all the stuff. So I'm not going to let you have that garden. So recognizing the beauty of what I'm really creating here is it's not the typical business model with employees. It's profit sharing. It's energetic exchange. It's protecting time and it's standing for each other's dreams. And when I was telling her all of this, her eyes are just lighting up. She's like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And I'm really excited about this because now I've got a coaching queen. I've got a coaching queen. She's going to go through my stuff and she's going to learn and she's going to get the help that she needs. And she's going to be able to feed others that I may not be able to access. She's got a completely different community that I don't have access to that she can now feed. And I'm going to give her my stuff to do it. So the thing about being discerning is you need to be able to feel out that energy, which means you have to have a strong sense of self-worth and you need to know your boundaries. Now, I'm not giving her my coaching for free. That's not what I'm doing. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm building a long-term relationship similar to what I did with Jenny. Jenny did not want to coach. Jenny will come in and teach, and she was very upfront. She's like, I'm not going to coach. I'm like, that's okay. You can do something else in the work. What lights you up? She's my research queen. She's the one that goes out there and she learns things. And then she comes into the messenger with me and she's like, hey, I just learned this. I just checked this out. Check this resource that I found. Go check this out. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that she found for gestational diabetes, for example, and for preeclampsia, that she needed to have that stuff for herself. And she's also added it to the content library that I have. So I have links to things and resources, and she continues to bring those in. And the same thing for others. It's like, they don't necessarily have to pay me money. If they really don't have it, I'm still going to feed them. It's just going to look different. And I even have been very upfront about that when I have my toolkit, because my Empowered Birth Toolkit, they put their name and email in. They get access to the Google Drive with the toolkit, which is also going to have all of the book bonuses from my books. It will eventually have No More Mommy Martyrs book bonuses as well. So it won't just be an Empowered Birth Toolkit, it will be an Empowered Mom Toolkit. And then they'll have access to that with the 7 Days of Empowered Mom Magic that basically helps them to see themselves in a higher level of themselves. And they're like, oh, this is my next level. This is where I could reach to. And at the same time, I'm like, I've got the upsell in there. I'm like, okay, you've got the toolkit. Here's how to use the toolkit. And for the best results, here's Academy. Here's everything that's in Academy. We can talk about the 2-pay or 3-pay option with Academy if this price is too much for you. And there's conditions that apply. And of course, one of the conditions is I would see, are they going to go through the program? Because I'm not going to give somebody something for free if they're not going to go through it. I'm not going to give you seeds if you're not going to plant the seeds in the garden. I'm not going to tell you my tips for tilling the soil and everything and planting the seeds properly so that they grow. I'm not going to give you all of that. I'm not going to give you my energy. I'm not going to come look at your garden if you're not going to actually take care of that garden. Like, I want that garden to feed other people that I can't reach. I want you to tell others about the fact that I've got these seeds, that I've got this fruit. Like, I expect you to tell others about the fruit. Like, I expect you to tell others about the fruit so that they can get fed. Because right now they're starving. And you don't have your garden yet. I expect you, once you reach a certain level of abundance within your garden and you have more than just what feeds you, to give that fruit out. To give those seeds out. To harvest the seeds. To find those ways that your garden is thriving differently than mine because you planted different seeds than I planted in mine. Or you have a different environment. Or you have different challenges that you're dealing with, or different time constraints. I'm going to expect the pay it forward model in order to get my stuff for free. Information is free. I charge for access to me. And that doesn't necessarily mean money. It means I'm going to look for that energetic exchange. If I see that somebody is just going to sit there and try to get my stuff for free, I'm not going to give them the generosity that I gave this person. Because I could already see she was somebody that I liked. Because when she was telling me about what she had done in the last several years of her life and how she had been giving to the world and her heart, I could feel her heart. I could feel what this could be. And that's why I did what I did. I'm like, you know what? That's okay. Honestly, I don't think I'd want to just take you on as a client. I don't think I'd want to just sit there and coach you every week. I think this collaboration and training you up to be my coaching queen, I think that is a much, much more aligned and much more beneficial way for our relationship to work. Because not everybody needs to be a client. Not everybody needs to buy your fruit. Some people are gardeners. They just don't know it yet. Some people are going to be able to create abundant gardens that are going to allow you to then have a big farmer's market where you all get paid. You all get the benefit. So, I mean, now if she goes out and she finds somebody and she's like, you know what, I could coach you, she gets 50% because she's doing the work. If she decides she's not going to coach, but she's going to refer, she gets 10% because I'm doing the work or somebody else on my team is doing the work. But this is the model that I'm basically creating within my ecosystem. Now, about my ecosystem, because you're probably curious about that. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? This is the anti-funnel. This is the anti-sales structure where you basically have to chase after clients. This is alignment. This is about calling people in and then seeing where their energy's at. And maybe initially you thought maybe they're just going to be a client, but then the more you get to know them, the more you realize, oh, what I've got here is actually even more valuable than that. I've got another gardener. I've got a powerful gardener who can help with what I'm building. And then they can also feed their community as well. And then they can feed my community with the things that they add to it. So recognizing that, I can send people to her, she can send people to me, and we can have that relationship. And then there's other people that I connected her to. I'm like, you know, that person that you saw the interview with, she's actually in your niche. You could reach out to her and get more support from her as well. Like, she'll stand for you as well as me. Like, we'll both stand for you. And she's a powerful connection. So you two could do something together. And I bridged that. I bridged that network. I'm like, yeah, no, she's in your niche. So not only does she have the kind of experience that you are looking for, she's also a potential collaborator for you. Because I am building those connections. I'm building a web. I'm building an ecosystem. I'm building my empire to be sustainable, long term, that feeds everyone and allows them to all grow and expand at their own rate. There's no competition with me. And so with this ecosystem, I recently did a masterclass, and I mentioned this to her as well, because I'm like, you know, you could take my ecosystem. I'll teach you my ecosystem too. Like, you can have that because you've got a content library. You could use that. And part of my ecosystem content library is how it all feeds into allowing people to self-select as clients or collaborators or someone who is just going to take the fruit. So that's like, are you just going to take the fruit? Are you going to plant seeds? Are you someone who's a gardener who wants to create a massive garden and a community garden at that and get other people to garden too? Because if you're looking for that, well, I need to know you. And you're a coaching queen and you've got higher levels of elevation, and I'm going to pay even more attention to you because I know that you can feed into the movement that I'm creating. And you also have your own stuff. So I created this masterclass because I just create these for fun. I got bored. I created a whole bunch of slides, and then I just went up onto my Zoom and I recorded it, and then I put it on to my YouTube. I have a personal YouTube channel, and then I have Carly Bondred Uncensored, which is this one. And so if you go into the playlists, there is a Carly Bondred Teaches Awesome Stuff playlist. And there is a masterclass that is the glass slipper method and how to create a gamified ecosystem. So you're going to want to check that out if you're more curious and you want the actual structure behind it, because I did teach pieces of my ecosystem. And the way it is it's educational, conversion, offer. So you basically look at it as, instead of the typical call to action, go buy my course, you're giving high value, high conversion content. And then that content filters people where they need to go. So there's a whole bunch of components to this. And again, inside that masterclass, you'll be able to see that. But I just really wanted to tell you about this art of discernment, because that's part of one of the bonuses of having that ecosystem. I built the ecosystem. All of my content is an ecosystem in itself. And because of that one video that she found, she then filtered naturally into my world. And you need to think about that. When you're creating a piece of content, you really need to think about that. You don't know what piece of content is going to get to somebody. The last time that I had a client that I worked with, because I'm like, this is going to be a powerful case story, and she wanted the fruit, and she wasn't looking for the seeds. She was looking for the fruit to be able to nourish herself so that she could have the birth that she wanted. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I created these videos just for fun and for education, and I got a client from it. She binge watched them. And this one is a collaborator. This coaching queen is a collaborator. And she had also found a different video. So I have a whole content library. I don't know which one somebody's going to come across. But what I do know is that I have a place to hold them. I have a place to hold them because she then was like, okay, I'm going to join your Facebook group and I'm going to get into your system. That's how she found me. She's like, I'm going to join the Facebook group. She found me. She saw what was going on in my interview. And she's like, I need to get into this circle. So she joined the Facebook group. She said, I don't know about the toolkit yet, but tell me more. I'm like, okay. I DM'd her. And then I found out all of the stuff about her. And I'm like, all right. So not only is she now on my list, she's going to learn from me. I'm going to give it to her because she's got people in her audience that could benefit from this. And she's a virtual doula, and she's going to have her own system, and she needs to be able to have that foot in the door. So yeah, don't focus on just having everybody buy your fruit or buy your seeds. Focus on the ones that can create your gardens and to expand your message and to feed others that you may not be able to reach. And when you create that ecosystem, everybody gets fed. It's not just one person at the top. Everybody gets fed. You don't need to rely on those scammy sales tactics because people can sniff that out. And you know, if you're just looking at getting leads and following that path of just getting leads, there's a point where you cannibalize your market and you don't even realize it. It's the death of 1,000 cuts. So if you are a coach or creator and you do want to have a thriving empire, then what you're going to want to do is check out more on my glass slipper method and my ecosystem. And as I said, I do teach this. I don't coach for free. So if you wanted me to actually coach you on it, that is a price tag, and we would talk about that. At the same time, the information is out there. You could theoretically try to do it yourself. There's a lot of moving pieces that you'd need to put into place, and you also need to tailor it to your own content, your own niche, and that's where the coaching kind of becomes beneficial because it's now custom tailored to you. But the generalized information, yeah, I just put it out there. Okay? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And thank you so much for watching. And I will see you next time. Namaste.